Hey there, it doesn't take a genius, listeners, both of you. It's late summer, and I think you know what that means. We're going to have an episode about a back-to-school game and watermelons.
Welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
Okay, so here's where I'm going with this. I recently came across a post by, I believe his name is Chris Kerner. He lists himself in his profile as DFW plus LDS. It took me forever to realize that he wasn't meaning two different cities, Dallas, Fort Worth, and whatever LDS I thought possibly could be, but he is a Latter-day Saint. So, but very interesting fella for business. Has some really interesting posts, and he just posted about a gentleman who I believe is from Arkansas and is part of, I think it's a franchise roofing system company called Robin Hood Roofing. But the gentleman in Arkansas drops off watermelons at your door. And the watermelon has a sticker on it. Let me read it to you. You can see it on the screen for those of you on YouTube. But it says, "We know it's weird to leave a watermelon at your door. It's also unusual to get exceptional customer service from a roofing company. Give us a chance, and we hope to surprise you throughout the whole experience. If you already have a roofer, then just enjoy the watermelon. It's the best part of summer. Robin Hood Roofing, local, licensed, insured." And then, of course, it says call or text today and has their number. Well, it got me to really be thinking about the fact that that was a surprise. You know, other companies have tried other things. You know, show up after the storm, canvass the neighborhood, send out some young kids who say, "Do you want us to look at your roof?" Everybody's tried that, but I bet nobody had tried watermelons. Well, about the time that I saw this post, I was thinking about a game that I'm going to be playing in the fall with my class of high school juniors that I'm tutoring for our local program called Classical Conversations. It's an academic program for homeschoolers, and you meet on campus together once a week. And this year they're going to be studying Latin, U.S. history, music theory, chemistry, math, philosophy, poetry, and Shakespeare. And what I really want to make sure we do is that we have some conversations. If you've followed me long enough, you know that I think the real secret is wrestling to grow. And part of that wrestling is wrestling to the truth in a conversation. And so the real goal is not merely that they read all this material and all these different areas that they'll be studying, but the real goal for me is that they arrive ready to talk, to have a conversation, to contribute, to connect, to think out loud. And so I learned about a game that the way it was taught to me, it's called Hit or Miss, and I've modified it a little bit, but I think I've landed on a game that is going to work, and I think it has everything to do with the success that Robin Hood Roofing is having with watermelons. And so here's how the game works. Basically, the students study the day's assignments, and they're doing that for the week before we meet together. And then in class, they share their observations. And we're going to have a point system. Everybody loves a good game. Mike and I talk about gamification all the time. Well, in this particular instance of the game, there's two ways to score points. One is to share something that you believe everybody else will have also shared. They will also have written down as a thought. Clear core observations that everybody has probably made about, the certain play of Shakespeare or the certain philosopher we're studying, or a way of looking at the Latin. You also can get a point for sharing something that nobody else has thought of. Some original insight, some question that you have, some connection that you've made with other material. So you're sort of training two skills when you do it. You're talking about mastery of the obvious and also originality. So why is this a big deal? Well, for me, it's going to have them coming prepared for the conversation, knowing that they have thought enough to say, you know what, I bet other people have made this observation, and you know what, I bet this is something nobody else has said. There's other versions of this game. I did some looking online. There's common and unique. It's a team building activity where groups list everything that they share and everything that is distinctive about each of them as individuals. There's a way of thinking about sort of a business competition, table stakes versus differentiation. So, it's a business version of basically the same thing, right? Table stakes, it's what every competitor is already doing, right? Everybody's thought of this. And then differentiators, it's, what almost no one else is doing, right? It's the watermelon, right? Nobody's thought to do that yet. This is an ancient concept, by the way. The way I described it is masking it a little bit, but if you think about it, you have genus and species, right, is how Aristotle would have put it, right? There's a category to which you belong, and then there's something that makes you individual compared to the rest of the category, right? So we're looking for both of those ideas. Let me give you just some examples of how I think this could pay off in the marketplace. Let's talk more about marketing, right? Your competitive position. What has every other car dealer in the city already thought of, right? Having an online presence, right? Being on TikTok at this point, right? Taking financing very seriously, right? Taking CSI very seriously. Using digital tools that are being sold as a subscription service to everybody else, right? And then what has almost no one thought of or executed well, right? I'll give you an example. I used to call on a gentleman who was on the autism spectrum. He was a manager for a particular auto dealership group, and he became, I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to, put anybody on Front Street, but basically he became the number one person in the world for a particular high-end car brand because he was so studious about posting YouTube videos that would last 90 minutes, breaking down everything about a new model that was coming out. And he had people all over the globe following him and wanting to reach out and use him. It was a community experience in the sense that it was global, but it was for aficionados of this one brand, right? Maybe it's a distinctive service ritual that you do, right? It's the thing you do that nobody else does. I think we've talked on a previous episode about a shoe store brand that the owner comes out. It's Unger Shoes in Portsmouth, Ohio. He comes out and checks the fit on every pair that are purchased while he's there, and he goes, bullseye, great fit, right? You're going to love these shoes. Just a little double check, right? Maybe it's a transparency practice that reduces anxiety, right? That's a little bit of what the gentleman who was on the autism spectrum was doing. And maybe it's a specific community experience, as in something local to you, something that only you could do. Those are some examples of how it applies to marketing. How about sales conversations, right? What does every salesperson already say in the first 5 minutes of a conversation, right? This could be online, it could be in person. But if you think about, going through the list of all the things that they're getting that are on the script everywhere, right? And then you decide what's a concern or an insight almost no one addresses that could be part of your game. And I think one of the easiest ones of this is for anybody in sales, you're supposed to be responding to the actual lead that comes in online, right? Sometimes I'm beginning to wonder if just responding to the actual question that the lead asks would be the thing that catches people's attention. But if not, then what I suggest is picking up something in the information that they submitted. It could be just their email address, right? Is the email address grandma6@yahoo.com? Well, you probably ought to ask her about her grandchildren, right? Are you going to be if you're in car sales, are you going to be transporting your grandchildren? Where do they live? Congratulations on having 6. That's awesome. Anything that does that. We talk about this when we talk about The Power of Moments by Chip Heath and Dan Heath, that they say, break the script, right? Break the script. So in sales conversations, you could do that. How about if we look again at the car dealership world, or even I say that, but really it applies to anyone who's in a service industry. Which process improvements has every shop, every person in your line, whatever operations you do, they've already made these process improvements. Everybody has started using this one tool, right? Everyone has started skipping this one step because they figured out a way to do it faster. But is there a friction point that is still ignored because that's just how it is, right? Is there something that you've decided is just how it is? Will Guidara talks about this in his book Unreasonable Hospitality, that you should do a rules audit, right? You should make people justify every so often why we should keep doing that one rule or that one policy. How about leadership and just team conversations, right? What feedback or even recognition does every manager already give, right? Is there something that's a specific acknowledgement that's still missing, right? Now this takes some thinking to figure out what are things that I'm not calling out. But I can tell you this: if you're making generic responses like "thanks for everything that you're doing," you haven't told me anything specific about what you've noticed I'm doing. So we talk about the AID method, using that liberally to figure out things that you can recognize in your people's efforts that are leading to the results you want to see. How about hiring and onboarding? What are the things every candidate expects to hear versus that one insight, that one question that signals real differentiation? I spoke to someone recently, a friend of mine, who went for an interview, and this was not at all something he was looking for, and it was not something he was expecting. They said, we always start our interviews with prayer. Do you mind if I pray for us really quickly? Okay, maybe that doesn't work for you, and I'm not sure that it worked for him, but he was so intrigued, he ended up working for the company. He took the position. So there are all sorts of things like that you can do. One last thing, I think you can do this as a mindset. And so what I mean by that is you as an individual preparing alone, before a meeting, you can ask yourself, what will almost everyone already be saying and thinking about this? And then what's one observation or question almost no one will raise? Maybe you're going in for the interview, right? What does every candidate give, and what's some perspective you have that's still rare? Maybe it's a retreat, a corporate retreat. It's a strategic planning session. What are the ideas that are already on every whiteboard in the industry, right? And what does almost no one put on the table? And just a daily practice, right? Train your mind to be thinking about what's common ground with everyone here, and what's one original contribution that I can make. So it's a simple little thing. This week, pick one, work situation, some real thing. Ask the hit or miss questions, right? What has everybody else already thought of? What has almost nobody thought of? Come prepared to contribute both. So I'll maybe be checking in a couple months and letting you know how it's going over with my juniors. But I think this just so fits with It Doesn't Take a Genius, that we talk about. It doesn't take a genius to notice obvious things and then think about things that might be more original, right? It just takes discipline to look for both. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to our fearless announcer. Hope you have a wonderful day. And, we'll see you soon.
And that, I guess, is that. It doesn't take a genius. No rights reserved, nothing trademarked, copyrighted, or even original. Feel free to give it to anyone, anytime, using any and all media formats. Warning, Mark and Mike may or may not make another one. I'm your announcer, and I did not get paid a nickel to do this. They won't even let me tell you my name. So until next time, if there is a next time, stay safe. Be well.
That's good enough.